Welcome back to another video on Gearsaw Studios, and today I'm going to be showing you how to build yourself a sawmill, complete with little details like texturing, a water wheel, and actually quite historically accurate saw right here, and then some miscellaneous details to spice it all up. So, without further ado, let's investigate how we'd go about this, and a little bit of recommendation. In the description, I've attached a video of a vertical saw working, in case you want to touch up on the actual saw part right there. Of course, I don't recommend exactly copying my design here, or really any part of this build, we all have different terrains, but still, with that video, it should help a lot in conjunction with this tutorial. Starting off, first, find yourself an area, preferably in a forested biome. I prefer the taiga for this, but the birch forest, normal forest, pretty much anything with dense trees. You could even do it if the sawmill doesn't actually fit stuff like dark oak trees, will still look nice there. Anyways, it needs to be aligned to a river. And this can be difficult sometimes because 1.18 dictates we have cool rivers, which sometimes can make it a little irritating. However, if you can find a singular straight point, then you're good. And if there is none, flatten something. And then, even if you have a flat point, flatten it out anyways. What you want to do is start by placing a water wheel here, and make sure to smooth out stuff like this, clean up a little bit of the dirt, just keep these areas a bit cleaner than usual. And the water wheel really involves having part of a wheel in water. I know, very shocking. I recommend starting off with your foundation. Cobblestone or cobbled deep slate could work for this, but it could change later, who knows. And then our foundation here, this is of course not complete, just a little rudimentary thing. And then I can maybe go off of here and then place the wheel somewhere here. You can see pretty far. It can still smoothen out the sides a little so that way it doesn't have any risk of bonking into anything. You know, something like that. Make sure there's no stone showing, and then you can start adding your water wheel. Right here, you can see I have a water wheel. And for a quick lesson in physics, editor, I thought I could trust you. I'm sending the book now. But anyways, you can see right here, the water wheel is only partially submerged, and this is by design. Although I can't completely replicate what a water wheel might look like, so if you can figure out what direction it would spin, then you can do a lot with this. I'm gonna say that it's gonna spin, I don't know, this direction. Then the logical thing would be to waterlog some of these. And then, I actually don't know which ones would not be waterlogged in this case. Probably this one or something. But still, you can see there's a general idea here. It is a water wheel. I use trapdoors and stairs to make it more circular, and there are two of them because I like it that way. And then it's connected to a foundation, completely of cobbled deep slate. I'll texture it later. And then afterwards, what you want to do is start building a bit more of a foundation. Make it go maybe 1 or 2 blocks higher, and then I'll be able to start building the actual sawmill portion. Don't forget to build some fences here to keep it safe. Right here, I have a bit more of the sawmill. Normally there's a bunch of wheels and various contraptions around here that keep the saw moving, but it's unfeasible to build that in Minecraft, so I excluded it. I also made sure to add a little notch here so that way this log doesn't stick out so weirdly. And then I have this wall here. I decided not to put a fence because the water wheel is in the way. And now I'm going to expand the foundation. So it doesn't have to be terribly far. This one was 9 blocks wide, but now that I have the saw in place, symmetry isn't that important. Basically, you should be able to fit maybe 6-7 logs in here, basically just because that's how tall average trees are. And then, expand the area a little, shave off a few blocks here and there, and then we can start moving on to the house soon. So, extend your foundation, make sure there's something to be moving across, like something down here that moves the logs across. Normally there's some weird rudimentary conveyor belt that was made during medieval times for it, but there's not really any good images or good ways to do it in Minecraft even. So I recommend maybe just some iron bars along here, Something like this with a believable block like more cobbled deep slate under it. Right here, you can see I've done a bit more progress, added these support beams around, then moved the wheel a little. I recommend watching the entirety of the tutorial so that way you know what you're going to be building rather than going in and then following the steps as you go. You know, one run through just to make sure that you understood everything. Right here, you can see a minor mistake, but essentially there's a trench, there are some chains, and there are these tough blobs. This is because once the log goes in, there are these wheels that drag it along as the saw is also moved by said wheels up and down, which cuts the log. Unfortunately, we don't have split logs in this game, but oh well, this is good enough. And with that out of the way, now we can start working on some of the other stuff. Initially, I wanted to include a house on this, but really, there's a lot more you can do with a house than attach it to a sawmill. While it's an interesting idea, perhaps try putting down a log center, like just somewhere to lay down the logs. And this is pretty simple. All you need is, well, logs. Yeah, I know, very surprising. And then, once you place the logs at differing heights like this, and then you do it again, you can do it like this. Some of them should be slightly longer than others. And you do one up here as well. And then finally, you get down the rails. I know, pretty odd choice. And then you get the ladders. And yeah, this is going a little bit slower than I expected. But still, place down rails. You can do it like this, or you can do it like this. I prefer the ladder method. And yeah, that was a pun, I'm sorry. But right there, now I have some bound logs. You should put a roof over this section, and then right here, if you want to do a house, well, you can build a standard spruce house. I'll probably make a separate tutorial about that though, because there's a lot more nuance that goes into building a house here. So, a little bit of a raised area, of course, more cobbled deep slate, and notice how right here, on this front part, I do this pattern in order to have a little bit more depth with those arches. I recommend copying it to be right there as well. And then, once it's all raised up, put down some more logs, and then put down a roof where you have some dark oak like this, and well, you have dark oak holding it up. I recommend fences for that part, and then the inside stuff should be spruce. Right here, with all these roofs now in place, you can take a look at how I do it. I recommend taking heavy inspiration from this part, and you can copy it. It's a really nice design. And then right here, I do the same thing. Notice the walls and the fences to hold it up, which makes it a little bit more unique. And then I have a giant log pile here, which doesn't use the ladders, while a smaller one right here, which does. Then I have a workbench area with an iron axe, a book, you know, just in case you ever forget what to do, or really just books are very useful. Then you have smithing table, stone cutter, although this is for our purposes wood cutter, and a crafting table. Which means while this place in survival is not very useful, still it's a nice thing nonetheless. So with this, I made sure to add lanterns, and what do you know? Effectively it is done, but there's something important to do first. Going back to daytime so that way it's visible. Well, here's what you should do. Texture it a little. And what I mean by this is add some stairs here and there, maybe even some vines, moss, etc. This place is looking a little too perfect. So by adding those little damages into the floor, because remember this is pretty much a medieval sawmill. Well, there's one built in the 1800s, but let's ignore that. So we can't have it look exactly perfect. So adding these little damages here and there really adds to it. Along with that, you can even add normal deep slate to the parts where the sides aren't visible. Maybe like right here as a little bit of texturing. Maybe even make that the predominant block on the top layer. So that way, it's just a little bit more unique once everything is done. A little bit of greenery, a little bit of roof damage, stuff like that. With the roof damage now in place, you can see the sawmill is now complete. I have some vines here, which will spread over time, and they might start taking over all the surfaces, so you might have to keep them in check, potentially using string for that. A little bit of the damage is done with the stairs. And, well, I have all these little pieces of texturing. Textured the insides, added lanterns, and what do you know? It's a completed sawmill. You can even attach a house to it or place this part right here with a house. And, well, that was the original plan, so if you end up copying this, you end up having a really nice spot for a house. Although I don't recommend 100% copying builds, mainly because, well, nobody has the same terrain and you might have a different idea. Still, I think it's a really nice build. And, well, a little bit of safety, even if it doesn't have any practical uses, hey, it's still an interesting electric course. You can even go through the middle and away. And with that, it's the end of today's video. If you enjoyed this video, remember, please like and subscribe. It really helps me out. Either way, enjoy the rest of your day. Gearsaw out.